Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 677 for the 26th of September 2021. Richard Saunders coming to you from the Skeptic Zone mobile. Yes, I'm sitting in the car in a lineup at a local COVID-19 testing centre. I am getting a precautionary test simply because I've been asked to do a little bit of work in the entertainment industry later this week. Wow, that's great to be able to get a little bit of something. And one of the requirements is a negative COVID test. Fair enough. What a good idea. So I'm lined up, and ahead of me there are about 7, 8, 9 cars. Oh, I can see a nurse or somebody popping along the car windows, sort of organising things at the moment. Coming up on this week's show, something a little bit different. In the past week, Australia had quite an earthquake centred near Melbourne, and we're going to pick up the story just after the earthquake when the Great Australian Prediction crew were meeting, talking about earthquakes. As we spoke about earthquakes, there was an earthquake. That was quite something. Michelle Bickersma tells us what it's like to sit through an earthquake. And a big shout out to Michelle Bickersma, our reporter in Melbourne. It's not every day you sit there on Zoom and watch somebody shaking in their seat wondering what's going on. And following that, it's a look at TikTok, specifically tarot on TikTok. Could almost be a song, couldn't it? I recently got into TikTok to have a look to see what's going on, as I like to know what's sort of going on out there. And I discovered many weird things on TikTok, of course, but lots of people doing tarot card readings, so I thought I would investigate that. After that, it's the Australian Skeptics newsletter, once again, read by Adrian Hill in Canada. Sort of makes sense, doesn't it? An Australian Skeptics newsletter read by a Canadian, but somehow it just works. Then to round off the show, it's tarot cards once again, as we dive into the pages of Trove and other newspapers from around the world, the digital archives, and discover what references we can find to tarot cards, including a very interesting piece from here in Australia about the history of tarot cards. Oh, we're moving forward. Okay. Gates are open. And 6, 7 cars. Yeah, some have gone into the testing centre and I'm still out on the street. Looks like I'm moving up here. All right, good. Oh, this is happening quicker than I thought. This is good. I've been waiting in these queues sometimes for over an hour, but this morning, since I'm early and it's just opened, I think I'm going to be through in about 10 minutes, so that's really great. Stay tuned at the end of the episode for more announcements from me. But now it's time for me to, sit in the car and get a COVID test. While I do that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. Okay, we're back now. We're recording. So, folks, this is one of those things where you say, "What the hell?" We are the 6, 7 of us doing predictions as we do every week for the Great Australian Psychic Prediction Project, and we were discussing natural disasters and earthquakes, and we're all busily researching. I think this was happened to do in New Zealand, so we're looking up to see the historical records for earthquakes in New Zealand. We're all chatting, and suddenly Michelle's looking around her room. And she just went through an earthquake in Melbourne, or an earth tremor. And she's saying, no, the room's shaking. We're thinking, ha ha, very funny. No, it really is. It's extraordinary that we were discussing an earthquake while there was an earthquake happening to one of us. Are you okay there, Michelle?
I am, but the crazy thing is that it doesn't really happen very often in Melbourne. This is only the second or third time in my entire life. And I actually thought that maybe I was crazy and imagining it. And I was looking around the room because I was thinking, how can I prove this other than I feel it? And how can I show everybody on Zoom? Because this almost can't be. It's just too wild that this room is shaking. My cat's expression said it all. That was reassuring me that I wasn't crazy. And I am sitting in a mud brick room with a brick floor, and it's going to have to take a bit to shake this room, and everything was shaking. So while I didn't madly solve the problem of showing everybody, I just thought I must have a bit of a sanity check. And we looked it up, sure enough, the reports of earthquake alerts, or it's a tremor, coming into Melbourne, but it's not something we commonly feel. So how bizarre. The timing could be not more bizarre.
It is.
The law of large numbers. The law of coincidence has to happen.
And
absolutely.
That's right. I was just about to say that brings home this really good point. Every now and then in our lives, weird, unbelievable coincidences happen. And the fact that we should be discussing earthquakes while one of us has an earthquake is exactly one of those. And we're discussing them on a skeptical podcast.
So we're going, Michelle, I doubt it. Prove it. So then we Googled it and bingo, there we go. Yep.
I think Michelle gets bonus skeptical points, though, for doing a sanity check first.
That's right.
Before she said everything and made all these wild claims.
And you mentioned that your cat did not have a reaction. And, the fiction is that animals actually perceive these things before they happen. So that got proved wrong.
Yes,
maybe that
no warning.
Cat.
Do you need to do a check around your house, Michelle? Is everything all right?
No, it just was a mild shake. But yes, my cat did not predict it, but had a very freaked out expression during it, as did I. And we, I think, looking to each other for reassurance because it's just too uncanny. And I because we're looking at Kerry Culkin's and Sarah Culkin's predictions about these things, and I happen to know them. They're from the area that I grew up in. I think they're trying to tell me something.
I think they are.
From the other side. Could this be a warning? Do not mark my predictions wrong.
Well, as will come out in the report, one of the predictions that they made themselves, Kerry Culkin's made, was that she made this prediction way back in 2001 or 2, that anti-gravity devices would be in use. So we're still waiting for that one.
I want one.
Me
and
too.
It was marked by them as correct.
And they marked it as correct. So.
Oh, seriously?
Yes. Well, Michelle, I'm glad you're okay. I really am. Please give our love to the Skeptical Fairy if you see her, and we'll get back to our predictions.
I will. Thank you.
Hello, this is Maynard. Did you know that you can listen to the Skeptic Zone on YouTube? Yes, I know, sounds crazy, but it's true. Also, you can hear 40 logical fallacies with Michelle Bickersma and funny sketches with Richard Saunders and a host of other skeptics. Just click on the YouTube links on the homepage at skepticzone.tv.
TikTok and tarot. Not the combination of words that might first come to your mind. Recently, I've started using TikTok. I've posted a few funny cat videos of the Skeptic Zone cats just for fun. and one little origami video. I think I'll be doing more. I noticed lots of very interesting people are on TikTok, including Dr. Carl Kruzelniski. My friends at the Curiosity Show have a TikTok account, and they're posting up lots of videos from the 70s and the 80s when they had their science-based show for kids, which I used to watch. What I'm also noticing on TikTok, and maybe it's the algorithm delivering me things I want to see, I'm not sure, are a lot of medical professionals debunking and denouncing the TikTok videos put up by anti-vaxxers and conspiracy theorists. But I digress. Let's get back to the subject I wanted to talk about originally. Now, I discovered, and I'm sure you did too at one stage or other when you're using TikTok, that there's a little button at the top of the screen you press for live. And then you can scroll through a series of live videos. People there talking to the camera about everything you can possibly imagine. Lots of people just seem to be staring off into space, and once in a while they'll look at the camera and keep going. It's a strange thing. But as I was discovering this interesting aspect of social communications, social media, up popped somebody in the United States doing a tarot card reading. So I watched for a little while. Nothing surprising there. It's the usual stock standard sort of stuff, and I scrolled on. Next person came up was doing a tarot card reading. All right. Next person came up had a little cat. That was fun. Then a tarot card reading. It was amazing. The more I kept going, the more tarot card readings were presented to me live. And also I noticed that people's comments appear on the screen. And the tarot card readers would invariably say, who's next? If you want a reading, do this, that, and the other, and you'll be next in line. And I soon discovered that in many cases that is, if you pay via whatever means, Vimeo or whatever, you're next in line or you'll be in the queue. So I thought I'd play you a few examples of what I discovered just the other day at random going through TikTok. And then I might talk a little bit about using tarot cards themselves. Our first example comes from an account called Spiritual Tweak Susie Lee. And this had, at the time I recorded this snippet, this had 75 viewers.
Okay. All right, Natalie. You've got in the past, you've got the Ten of Swords. In the current or present, you have the Six of Wands. And in the future, you have the Nine of Pentacles, okay? So in the past, you've gone through some kind of betrayal, some kind of heartbreak, yes. I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with betrayal. But you've been stabbed in the back, you've been hurt, and kind of left for dead, basically, on the shore. And I love this card in this deck because the Ten of Swords is always a card, actually, of hope, because it's the last one in the suit, and 10 represents completion, and so.
Next, we have somebody under the account of Healthy Tarot 111, and the amount being requested was $5 to $15. Presumably $15 gets you a longer reading, and this account at the time had 81 viewers.
Nope, I'm sorry. I got Kay, I got Nicosia. I did not get your payment, girl. I promise I was not ignoring you. I didn't get it. Carla Bree, what have we got? Carla Bree. Four of Pentacles, balance and stability, right? This is really sometimes better than like the big card, the big manifestation, because it does give us like a ground level to jump off of, right? That's the really important thing. If you think that you missed a reading and I really am not getting it, message me on wherever you sent it, Venmo, Cash App, whatever. Message me so I can see it. I am not missing a reading. Sierra, what have we got? Sierra. This is the tough part with the way that the apps are set up, right? Sometimes they just don't go through too. Sierra, 3 of Wands in reverse position. I wouldn't be afraid of being alone. You know, I really think that you're afraid of this and that you're going on this path that feels really independent, maybe a little bit lonely. I would kind of cherish this. Sometimes being alone really helps us understand ourselves better. I like it for you. Emma, what if we...
And now we have an account called BC Beach Bum 74, and this account at the time had 134 viewers.
I might move back to the Guardian cards after this one. 9 of Wands. This is your career card, okay? Almost there. You can see the finish line. At the last minute, you're faced with another obstacle. This challenge can be seen as a setback or a test of your character. Expect the worst and protect yourself. Protect yourself against any formidable attacks. Better to be prepared now rather than later. Throughout this journey, you have accumulated experience and gained enough wisdom to handle anything that is thrown your way.
Now, maybe by now you're getting an idea of how the reading works. What's this one? We have a little clip here from an account called L.M. Riley, and you'll be pleased to know they had 118 viewers, and they were asking for money via Cash App and Vimo. Now, Vimo, it's not available in Australia. I have heard about it, but I can't use it. Anyway.
Tammy, when will I find a job? When you go look for one. When you work on, like, the balance. Tammy, like, finding the job, like, you need to be balancing what you need and where you need to be living and, like, your hours. Like, make sure that you are available enough for a job. Is Jordan cheating on me? Is Jordan cheating on me? The Lover's reversed. That's definitely an indication that there's definitely some shit wrong in that relationship. You definitely need to talk to them. This is also an indication that a breakup is imminent. But the Lovers is also a good sign, you know, no matter what direction it's pulled in. You definitely need to talk to them, to Jordan. Hey, if I am reading for you, please send me likes, tap my face.
Now, a brief clip from an account called Spiritual Essence, only 20 viewers at the time, and also asking for money using Vimo.
I have a grandfather whose name starts with a G. Who has a grandfather that passed and their name starts with a G? I guess, or it could be a father. I'm really leaning towards grandfather. I have to sneeze. I've been sneezing all day. So he might have had allergies. Gene, and that's your grandfather or your father? I like doing mediumship. Is this your dad?
And now here's an example from the account called Helios Hollywood. Helios Hollywood. And they had 88 viewers. And my little note saying here, when I was recording this, that they were using the cards to tell a story. Let's have a listen.
Put your business out there. Alrighty. Let's take a look here, Isaiah. Now, like I said, the moon does have duality, so that's why we can put these cards on here. Let's take a closer look at the moon card. Over here on this side, there is a tower. That tower is topped by a monk-like figure right there in a dark robe. That is the Tower of Faith, Spirituality, or Religion. Across from that is a higher tower, and it's built very solidly, and atop that is a telescope. That's Galileo's telescope, actually, and that is the Tower of Science. The Tower of Science is being guarded by Anubis. So if you are into ancient Egyptian culture, this is actually a protection for that tower. However, nothing can be protected in this landscape because there is a very scary crustacean that's coming up from the sea and about ready to ravage the landscape and destroy both towers. That is a abridged version of the tower card. If you didn't know, in traditional tarot, each card does have a story. And that's this one. This card is a warning. It's an omen. This is the first omen in traditional tarot.
So I think that gives you a flavor. I think you get the idea. And at other times, at random, over most of the day, even in the wee small hours of the night, I was looking and discovering that there are many, 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 many live tarot cards going on at any time on TikTok. And of course, most of those come from the United States, although I did notice some from Australia and other parts of the world. Now, why is tarot so popular on TikTok? I think it's the perfect storm here. We've got, I don't know, millions and millions of people using TikTok at any hour of the day, scrolling through. And if only a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of those people then put in $10 or $20 or $30 or $5 or whatever it is for a tarot card reading, then you can see the appeal for people to keep giving their tarot card readings for their TikTok audience. And I would have to say, by looking at many examples, that most people, or a good percentage of them, it's hard to say exactly, who are doing the tarot card readings actually believe it. They actually believe these cards can give mystical insights. And it's very seductive, because the more they do it, the more people pay them attention and pay them money. Now, the examples of tarot card reading we've heard are a good case of cold reading, Barnum statements, vagaries, that sort of thing. And tarot cards lend themselves to this very well. And the reason is because on each card there is a story. Now, somebody with a bit of imagination and some storytelling ability can really take advantage of this. I have a couple of decks here in front of me I've collected over the years. What's this one? This one is called Simply Tarot. Wealth, Love, Destiny 78 cards. The Simply Tarot deck consists of 78 richly illustrated cards. The major arcana has 22 cards numbered from 0 to 21, each with a symbolic image. And it comes complete with a book and a DVD, published in 2005 by Hinkler Books, printed in China. There you go. And the book lists all the cards with instructions on how to lay them out. But the important thing to remember here, I think, is that each card, as I said before, has a picture. And these cards, in fact, have not only the picture, but a little sentence. So, let me shuffle these back here. What they do exactly on TikTok. Okay, I'm going to shuffle the deck, and let's have a look at this card. The Five of Pentacles. Now, if I was doing this on TikTok live, I'd be now studying this card. The Five of Pentacles. On the card it says, delays around money coming in from the cold, and it shows two people sort of huddled by a building, looking very sad. One man on crutches and a woman wrapped up in the snow, looking miserable. So you can see the possibilities here. It can go down the line of, I know you've been worried about money lately, and that's only natural because of the problems you've had. You'll be surprised to know that soon there could be some money coming your way, because coming in from the cold, this card really describes that things are going to change for you. You can see where I'm going here. Let me pick up another card completely at random here. Stop. What's this one? The Hermit. Loneliness, unattached, soul-searching, time needed or time done. Well, this really does relate to you, because you do need time, and every now and then you need to search your soul. Don't worry. I think, again, you can see where I'm going here. And the people listening will take it as a personal message dedicated to them. Now, typically these readings only go for a couple of minutes. You pay your $5 or your $25, you get a couple of minutes reading, and then it's the next person on the list. And everybody watching keeps watching because they're getting entertainment. And if they don't feel entertained, they simply flick up their screen and watch the next tarot card reader in action. So if you use TikTok, maybe you can check that out for yourself and discover the endless range of tarot card readers out there at the moment, 24 hours a day. And getting back to the cards themselves, they're what we call props. It doesn't matter. It can be the stars, as in astrology. It can be the lines in your hand for palm reading, also known as flexation creases, so your hand can flex. It can be the pictures on the cards, and so on. As somebody once said, it's the same tune played on different instruments. But I think with tarot cards, as I said before, we've got the perfect storm. We've got a reading, and we've got something for people to look at. And by the way, if you want to look at a couple of cat videos on TikTok, my TikTok account is called @Richard_Saunders. But I'm quite tempted soon to put up some more videos dealing with the paranormal.
Kyle from the Data Skeptic podcast. If you're curious about the way data is changing our world, topics like AI and all this craziness with Facebook and bots and the Twitter storm and how the algorithms that underline that work, and you don't want a technical deep dive, you want it in the vernacular in a way that people can understand, check us out at Data Skeptic. That's what we try and do. I interview advanced professionals in the field who do this sort of research, and then I get into interesting projects as well. We're a weekly show, and you can find us at dataskeptic.com.
Hi. This is Skeptic Zone reporter Adrienne Hill from Canada, here to read the highlights from the Australian Skeptics newsletter. And this is newsletter number 132, released on the 21st of September. And remember that each story mentioned in the newsletter comes with links for further reading when you subscribe. Hi all, it says. COVID is playing an on-again, off-again game with all of us, such that it's hard to plan ahead. But whatever the case, there will be a Skeptics convention this year. More details are now on the Skepticon site. skepticon.org.au. Meanwhile, settle back with the good news that 50% of Americans actually believe in evolution. Read on. Tim Mendham. Okay, Tim, let's have a look at what you have for us. Australian Skeptics News. Skepticon. Speaker lineup. Speakers so far announced for the Skepticon convention represent a broad range of skeptical topics and locations, with speakers from the UK, Russia, Australia, and New Zealand. This year's Skepticon will be held on November 20th to 21st and will be a joint venture between Australian and New Zealand skeptics. Held in Sydney and Wellington, the convention will feature presentations live in person at both venues, streamed between the two countries and from around the world. Note that, of course, should the current situation in Sydney regarding COVID and lockdowns continue, or if any risks associated with public gatherings are of concern, then we may be forced to have an online-only convention for the Sydney component. A decision will be made soon. Hopefully, the same won't apply in New Zealand. Speakers include Professor Richard Wiseman from London, experimental psychologist and author of Paranormality, a scientific look at the supernatural. Microbiologist Associate Professor Wiles from Wellington, science communicator and 2021 New Zealander of the Year. Dr. Alexander Panchin from Moscow, computation biologist and member of the Commission on Pseudoscience of the Russian Academy of Sciences, and author of Defense Against the Dark Arts, a guide to the world of paranormal phenomena. Annie McCubbin from Sydney, actor, writer, director, corporate communication consultant, and author of the 2021 book, Why Smart Women Make Bad Decisions, and How Critical Thinking Can Protect Them. Dr. Paul Willis from Sydney, Adjunct Associate Professor in Paleontology at Flinders University and one of Australia's best-known science communicators. Dr. Helen Patoussis-Harris from Wellington is co-director of the Global Vaccine Data Network, former chair of the WHO Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety, and currently shortlisted for the Nature Awards for Driving Global Impact. Dr. Mark Wilson from Wellington, social psychologist looking at the psychological foundations of political behavior. For more details, including ticket prices, they will be available soon, but in the meantime, please register your interest so you can receive the latest information. Bent Spoon nominations. Nominations are now open for the Australian Skeptics Bent Spoon Award, one of the least sought-after credits in the skeptical world, or any world for that matter. And a message to everyone listening in Australia: there is still time to get your nominations in. Just visit skeptics.com.au. Evolution now accepted by a majority of Americans. Wow, half. I wish it was more. The U.S. National Center for Science Education reports, quote, "The level of public acceptance of evolution in the United States is now solidly above the halfway mark, according to a new study based on a series of national public opinion surveys conducted over the last 35 years." End quote. That's roughly 50% support evolution, 35% reject it, and 15% don't know. In comparison, a 2013 survey conducted by Ozpoll and the Australian Academy of Science found that 80% of Australians believe in evolution. 70% believe it is currently occurring. 10% believe in evolution but do not think it is currently occurring. 12% were not sure, and 9% stated that they do not believe in evolution. I wonder what it's like in Canada. Hopefully it's like Australia. Then again, in a 2012 poll, 69% of Britons believe that humans evolved from less advanced life forms, while 17% believe that God created human beings in their present forms within the last 10,000 years. Alternative treatments for Spanish flu. 100 years ago, there were just as many alternative treatments for Spanish flu as there are now for COVID. Whiskey up your nose, anyone? UN rule may be hurdle for Brazil vaccine skeptic Bolsonaro. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro's reluctance to get a COVID-19 vaccine is a rarity in his country and may complicate his plans to attend the coming UN General Assembly, where all attendees must be vaccinated to speak at the gathering. The president, who was infected with the virus last year, told reporters as recently as a week ago that he remains unvaccinated. It's not good. Note that one report that came in today says Bolsonaro might be okay for the UN Assembly, but probably won't be allowed into New York restaurants. Research for the do-your-own-research crowd. A short, only 3 paragraphs, albeit long ones, opinion piece on the research that people who do their own research haven't researched. And that is how the world's largest trial of medication has shown that billions of people have taken COVID-19 vaccines, and overwhelmingly, they're totally fine. And can get Microsoft Office updated automatically. I guess that's the chip in the arm. The psychic hunt for Osama bin Laden. This story reveals how the CIA returned to the good old days of using psychics to find particular targets thanks to 9/11. A long article, but it takes you back from the Cold War into the age of terrorism. QAnon explained in just 3 minutes. Skeptoid's Brian Dunning's short video gives the lowdown on the conspiracy movement, with the transcript of the talk helpfully printed below the video. Watch or watch and read according to your preference. Or you can read a longer version by Dunning, along with a lot more on conspiracy theories and sovereign citizens in The Skeptic, September 2020 edition. Men's sleep disturbed by waxing moon. Some theories why men's sleep is more disturbed when the moon is growing in brightness. And apparently it's worse for men than women, but no mention of werewolves. The September 2021 issue of The Skeptic is out. Digital version, print version a little longer as the pandemic has impacted on our printers' operations. It has a major feature on some recent publications and one old one, and the in-depth response by skeptics and skeptics as to where there might be problems, plus a whole range of stuff on aspects of religion and a whole lot more. So if you haven't subscribed yet or renewed your existing subscription, now is the time to do so. You can choose a hard copy or digital edition, or both. The digital is offered free to those who take up the hard copy version. Contact the editor if you are not sure if your existing subscription needs renewing. Learn more about our magazine and subscribe now. Skeptics in Action. If you have any ideas for stories or want to contribute to Skeptics communications, such as the magazine or Facebook page, or just have something you want to get off your chest, then you're welcome to get in touch. News leads should be sent to newstips@skeptics.com.au. Submissions for the magazine, etc., should go to editor@skeptics.com.au. Comments and suggestions, even those rude ones, should also go to editor@skeptics.com.au. Items of interest. Listicle. Discovery Plus online channel, Ghostober specials. Not sure if these will be on the local Discovery streaming service, but what you have here is a bunch of documentaries on paranormal topics. Mainly pretty woo-ish, like ghost hunting, etc. But the Associated Food Network channel features, quote, killer treats that pay homage to quintessential 1980s horror slasher films, end quote. Kind of reminds us of the Game of Scones cookbook that came out a while ago. The red wedding cake looks particularly appetizing. Don't think I could eat that. Get paid to watch scary movies. Finance firm Finance Buzz is offering one lucky horror aficionado the opportunity to watch 13, yes 13, very differently budgeted scary movies to settle whether bigger bucks bring bigger scares. It's only open to applicants based in the United States and at least 18 years of age, but if you qualify, you have until September 26th to apply online. Travel tip: Britain's most haunted village. Pluckley, only 2 hours from London and home to 12 official ghosts and mysterious deathly screams. Official thanks to the Guinness Book of Records, which seems to have seriously veered away from real, verifiable records. The usual candidates, the pubs, churches, forests, etc., but it also includes a coach and horse riding around the village, which actually sounds pretty impressive, if true. Quokka tips Australian Football League Grand Final winner. I didn't even know what a quokka was till I had to read this. They're so cute. And finally, adding to our list of animals that pick the results of football matches, a Rottnest Island quokka, is there any other type, has picked the winner of this Saturday's AFL Grand Final. Spoiler alert, it's the Western Bulldogs. Although the video does make you wonder if someone put some food in the chosen Bulldogs Guernsey. Thanks again, Tim. And for now, this is Adrienne Hill signing off.
I'm Mick West. In my podcast, Tales from the Rabbit Hole, I have extended conversations with people who have been involved in conspiracy culture. I do this for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because it's really interesting. These people have great stories about how they fell down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole, what they did down there, and what it was that helped them out. Sometimes I also talk to people who investigate conspiracy theories, and they have equally fascinating stories from the other side. Secondly, I want to understand how best to prevent the spread of conspiracy theories and misinformation, which is an increasing problem in a time when alternative media is exploding. The best way to do this is to communicate effectively with the people involved, and the best way to do that is with a nice long chat. So check it out, Tales from the Rabbit Hole, tftrh.com.
And yes, that music means it's time for the Trove segment, the look into the historical archives of newspapers, gazettes, magazines, and so on, dating back through the decades and centuries, from both here in Australia and internationally. Our normal reference is the Trove archives at trove.nla.gov.au, but we certainly do look further afield at times, and today is one of those times where we have a bit of a mixture. And today's topic is tarot cards. And our first reference comes from the Canberra Times, dated the 17th of March 1987. It's a major event for skeptics, no doubt. UFOs in Australia, Nostradamus, and creation anthropology will be subject to rigorous scrutiny by some of Australia's most practiced skeptics at a convention in Canberra next month. Australian Skeptics will hold its annual convention at the Australian National University on April 18, and, according to the Secretary of Canberra Skeptics, Dr. William Gray, will challenge some of the nostrums that are supposed to be good for all sorts of things. Dr. Gray said yesterday that Australian Skeptics had about 600 members, and it was a reaction to social trends. He said a growing belief in things such as the paranormal and astronomy was due to the menacing aspects of science and technology and people's fear of them. However, science and technology themselves should not be feared. Rather, the idiotic use of them should be discouraged. The idea of the convention was to raise public awareness about the importance of critical evaluation of, quote, any kind of U-Butte ideas that come along, end quote. Papers on creationist anthropology, Nostradamus, tarot readings, and the occult, and UFOs in Australia would be presented at the convention. An award of $1,000 to the journalist who produced the best skeptical story of the year would also be presented, and Australian Skeptics, with Mr. Dick Smith and Mr. Philip Adams, had a standing offer of $20,000 for anyone who could demonstrate psychic or paranormal power under controlled conditions. And our next little clipping, and short it is, comes from the Australian Jewish Times, dated the 9th of December 1982. Tarot readings. Free tarot card readings are available on Mondays and Tuesdays for all interested diners at La Bicyclette restaurant in York Street. Clairvoyant Diane Dean Uden is available to read the cards. Owner-manager Stefan offers patrons-friendly personal service, with dinners and late suppers available Monday to Saturday. There we are, you can get a dinner and a show of sorts. And now we head over to the United States to the Kittanning Leader Times, published in 1986 on the 28th of August. And this seems to be a town in Pennsylvania. And joining me in the reading of this item is Kelly Burke. In the Cards, readers tell all about anybody. By Linda Poydance, Life/Style Editor. All they need to know is a person's age. With just that little bit of information and some vibes, Jennifer and daughters Elizabeth and Debbie say that they can tell all about that person. The family members give, quote, full life readings, end quote, by using tarot cards and playing cards, and by giving psychic readings to clients visiting their home/office in South Butler. The ability to read a person is a talent that has been passed on to all the female members of the family, said Elizabeth, who declined giving her last name. Jennifer was born with the gift to read people, Elizabeth said.
She knew she had it, and that she would be a reader. She started as a teenager.
Elizabeth said. She has been giving readings for about 30 years.
She, Jennifer, is a true, gifted reader who was born with the gift. That gift has been passed down to both her daughters. The majority in our family will become readers.
Elizabeth said. When she was just a young girl, Elizabeth said her mother noticed her daughter also had the ability.
When I was at a very young age, my mother discovered it. She didn't tell me about it until I was 11 or 12. When I was 14 or 15, I read for a few people while my mother witnessed it. I've been reading for 11 years, but I've only been reading professionally for 8 years.
Elizabeth said. She said she knew she had the gift because
I would have dreams and know that it happened. And I was able to deal with people.
Elizabeth said. They have been at their current location since April. Elizabeth declined naming where they worked previously. Clients are taken through the family's living room and hallway to a small room located just past the kitchen. The room contains only a small table, 2 chairs, and a velvet curtain concealing a closet. All that is on the table are a deck of tarot cards and a deck of playing cards. Each card has a lot of meaning to it, Elizabeth said. She can tell a person's past, present, and self-conscious self with the cards. The psychic readings are obtained simply by the client placing his or her hand on the table and the reader placing her hand on the other's. Some people give off such strong readings that they do not even need to touch the person's hand, Elizabeth said. Elizabeth points out that she, her mother, and her sister do not predict the future, and it is illegal to read palms where they are located. What they do tell the client is more about his or her self, Elizabeth said.
They come in to try and find out more about themselves and their self-conscious selves.
Elizabeth said.
We try to help them understand themselves and their loved ones, and that helps them deal with their own problems better. The client's personality or subconscious mind usually comes out in the readings.
Elizabeth said. The majority of the family's clients will come in with a specific problem that has been bothering them, or they are looking for guidance on a particular issue, Elizabeth said. But the readers don't ask what that problem is. That will come out during the reading, Elizabeth said.
If it is about their personal life or a relationship, if that is the problem at the time, that is what we'll focus on.
Elizabeth said. Many people are skeptical at first, Elizabeth said. When skeptical, a person throws up a block that makes it difficult to give a reading, she said. But, she said, once the readers tell a person something about himself, he becomes less skeptical and more open to readings.
It's amazing how that block goes away.
And the photograph accompanying this article is a typical spread of tarot cards with some hands, presumably those of Elizabeth. And a little caption here, readings through tarot cards above and playing cards and through psychic readings, Jennifer and her daughters Elizabeth and Debbie give their clients full life readings. And that picture is credited to Mark J. Moretti. And thank you again to Kelly Burke for supplying the voice in that story. And finally, we have one more piece from the Canberra Times from 1987, the 21st of June, written by Don Laycock. Overselling creates a pasteboard imperium. Death of the Tarot by Greed, by Don Laycock. Tarot cards are dead, killed in the same way as many other traditional survivals have been killed, by greed and overselling. The death of tarot became apparent recently when I found some 15 different tarot packs going cheap at a Canberra book sale. All of these were distributed and copyrighted from a single firm, US Games Systems Inc., and all contained introductions and instructions by an acknowledged, if not always historically trustworthy, expert on tarot cards, Stuart R. Kaplan. It was around 1970 that US Games Systems and Stuart R. Kaplan got together to build a tarot empire. A third member of the triumvirate was the giant Swiss card manufacturing firm of A.G. Muller, though other card-making monopolies like Fournier of Spain, Grimald of France, and Platnik of Austria have sometimes joined the alliance. One of the results has been that even packs that have been around for centuries, such as the Sicilian tarot, have become part of this pasteboard imperium and have been copyrighted by US games systems. To understand how this situation arose, a little history is necessary. The ultimate origin of playing cards in general is still not quite certain, but lies somewhere east of Turkey, probably in the Indo-Iranian area. However, the first cards that entered Europe via Italy in the last third of the 14th century came from Mamluk Egypt, with suits of scimitars, polo sticks, cups and coins. These suit designs rapidly evolved into the basic Latin suits of swords, staves, which are wands, cups and coins, with subtle but important local variants in Italy, Spain and Portugal. These suits are still in use and are the most usual suits in traditional tarot packs. Around 1435, some 60 years after playing cards had become popular in southern Europe, there arose a variant pack with an extra court card, and with 22 tarot trumps, the major arcana of occultists, representing common medieval and Renaissance themes such as death and the devil, justice and temperance, the sun, the moon, and the stars. The cards were invented for the game of tarot, which still survives in Italy, France, Switzerland, Germany, Austria, and Czechoslovakia. The place of this invention was probably the court of Ferrara in Italy, although the game was popular very early among aristocratic circles in Milan, Bologna, and Florence. The origin of tarot cards, therefore, is no more exotic than the origin of the game of canasta. For more than 300 years after their invention, tarot cards were assigned no occult significance whatever. In the meantime, ordinary playing cards developed away from tarot cards with the introduction of new suit symbols, variations of hearts, leaves, bells, roses, acorns, and banners in the German-speaking area, and from 1480, the French simplification into spades, clubs, hearts, and diamonds. The French system soon conquered the world, because with it went the new technology of reproducing standard-size suit symbols by means of stencils, so that separate woodcuts did not have to be made for each card. Millions of card players around the world today have never seen any playing cards with suits other than spades, clubs, hearts, and diamonds. By the end of the 18th century, the Latin-suited cards were already so unfamiliar in Paris that tarot packs, like the Marseille Tarot, were looked on as something completely exotic. Around that time, a French writer, Cotte de Giblin, concocted a fantastic tale that connected tarot cards with Egypt and the Gypsies. According to the 9 completed volumes of his work, Le Monde Primitif, published between 1773 and 1782, the tarot trumps derived from the religious murals of some ancient Egyptian temple. With the decline of the Egyptian civilization, the priests had cunningly copied the murals as a pack of playing cards, reasoning that their mysteries would survive if disguised as a game, especially if it was a gambling game. The peoples who preserved the cards were supposed to be the gypsies, a view that rests in an old confusion of gypsies and Egyptians that is not totally extinct today. In fact, gypsies who originate from India did not enter Europe via Asia Minor until well after ordinary playing cards were established in Europe, and never had any association with tarot cards before the 20th century. Cotte de Giblin's book coincided with a Parisian vogue for fortune-telling with ordinary playing cards, which was successfully exploited by a cartomancer named Aliette, who, as Etiella, read the destinies of delighted Parisian ladies with his own set, 1783, of colourful picture cards based on the tarot, the first of many tarot packs produced arbitrarily for fortune-telling, meditation, or simply money. The occult fantasy was taken further by the French occultist Alphonse Louis Constant, 1810 to 1875, trading as Eliphas Levi. And this, quote, ancient, end quote, tradition, now some 70 years old, was picked up and elaborated on by further French and British occultists later in the century. Two of the founders of the Magical Order of the Golden Dawn in 1885, W. W. Westcott and S. L. MacGregor Mathers, created most of the now, quote, accepted, end quote, correspondence between tarot cards and unrelated systems like astrology and the Kabbalah, as well as probably inventing the, quote, ancient Celtic 10-card spread, end quote, method of divination currently favoured by clairvoyants. In the next decades, there was a spate of new, quote, occult, end quote, or, quote, esoteric, end quote, tarots, such as those of Oswald Wirth, 1889, revised 1927, Gerard Encausse, Pappas, 1909, Aleister Cowley, 1944, Book of Thoth, Paul Foster Case, 1931, Builders of the Atium, and C.C. Zane, 1936, Egyptian. The most influential of all, however, was the Waite Rider Pack, 1910, designed by Arthur Edward Waite, a minor member of the Golden Dawn, and painted in bad Art Nouveau by an equally minor artist called Pamela Coleman Smith. The Waite Rider Pack was one of whose designs inspired T.S. Eliot in The Wasteland. It was also the pack that popularized English names for the tarot trumps, especially the Hierophant for the Pope and the High Priestess for the Popess. It also reintroduced the idea, forgotten since Italia, of putting symbolic pictures of the ordinary suit cards which make up the bulk of the tarot pack, and renamed the coin suits to pentacles. Other subtle changes included numbering the Fools as 0, and interchanging the order of trumps 9 and 11, Strength and Justice. Such details allow connoisseurs to identify late occult packs, such as the Royal Fez Moroccan Tarot of the 1960s, claimed to derive from 9th century designs preserved in Morocco, as being direct cribs of the Waite Rider Pack. For most of the 20th century, however, such packs often existed only as ordinary designs or illustrations in books, or in small limited editions, often handmade, circulating among the initiates of occult fraternities. Meanwhile, the traditional game-playing or esoteric tarot packs continued to be produced by card manufacturers ignorant of the occult revival. Among surviving packs of this kind are Tarot di Bisancon and the Italian tarots of Bologna, Piedmont and Sicily. The big change came in 1960 when University Press, New York, released the first widely available version of the Waite Rider Tarot. The pack became popular in the 1960s generation, and anything to do with tarot was a commercial success. The Crowley Book of Thoth was released in 1969 at about the same time, predictably enough, as New Tarot for the Aquarian Age 1968, and the Aquarian Tarot 1970, a Waite Rider crib. After US Game Systems and Stuart R. Kaplan got into the act, tarot packs proliferated out of all recognition. Some of the newly produced tarots were reproductions of traditional packs and represented good value, like the reissue of the oldest extant tarot deck, the Visconti Sforza pack of the mid-15th century. But most were creations or artists and occultists with more regard for the money-making possibilities of the medium and for historical truth. The new packs mostly came with booklets adding further to the occult myths about the origin of the cards. The US Games system also produced, often in direct sponsorship, tarot cards from areas that were never part of the tarot tradition. A Spanish tarot, a Japanese tarot, a Tantric tarot, a Native American tarot, a dozen more. Since the Golden Dawn was still a name to conjure with, a Golden Dawn pack was cobbled together around 1977, followed in 1980 by a Hermetic deck, supposedly incorporating the same occult mysteries. There has been the Fergus Hall Tarot of the Witches, featured in a James Bond film, an Eastern pack, a meditation pack, a pop rock pack. The results of all this creation of meaningless sets of pretty pictures has been total confusion in the mind of the consumer, and therefore a very natural consumer resistance. We can look forward to seeing lots of expensive tarot packs being sold at discount prices over the next few years. To date, there has not been an Aboriginal Dreamtime pack, or an Australian Colonial or First Fleet pack, or Hawaiian Kahuna pack, but these are probably on the drawing boards right now. To the artists and publishers of such packs, I have a simple message. You've missed the boat. Tarot is dead, at least as far as the occult tradition is concerned. And at the end it says Don Laycock is an academic linguist who collects playing cards as a hobby. He also creates puzzles and is a member of the ACT Committee of Australian Skeptics. And an interesting report to end this section on. And what do the tarot cards have in store for you? I think they're telling you to go to trove.nla.gov.au, run a search, and you'll never know what you'll find. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Well, my test was done. It was very quick, a bit uncomfortable, but that's okay. And I'm heading back to the Skeptic Zone studios to put the edit together for this week's episode. Thank you to those people who continue to support the Skeptic Zone at skepticzone.tv via Patreon or PayPal. It means the show keeps going. It's pure and simple. Without your help, without your support, I couldn't afford to keep doing the Skeptic Zone podcast every week now for over 13 years, I think. Coming up on the next episode of the Skeptic Zone, something really different, really interesting and heartwarming in a way. Maynard returns. It's the return of Maynard's Spooky Action, and Maynard interviews his dad on his 93rd birthday about his dad's memories of the last pandemic, or should I say the memories he was that were around him, because he wasn't quite born when the last pandemic was, the 1918-1919 one, but he certainly remembers bits and pieces from his childhood, and it's just great to hear from Maynard's dad. So that's coming up on next week's episode. But for this week, as I wait at these traffic lights, and they're about to turn green, and here we go. For this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off from the streets of Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for show notes, contacts, and to access the back catalogue of episodes going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone podcast on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, visit our Facebook page, or leave a review on iTunes. You can also support the Skeptic Zone via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone podcast is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics or any other skeptical organisation.